we're going to do a demonstration of putting on TotalBoat brand barrier coat onto my own Steiger 25. The first thing I did was I removed all the old bottom paint, bringing the surface down to original gel coat. If you've done some work on boats before, you know that the key to doing anything right is all in the preparation. So for me, the first step was printing out the data sheet for the product available online, reading through it, making sure I know exactly what I need to do, what materials and supplies I need to have, and also, most importantly, what the weather condition needs to be. Okay, so on to sanding. So I'm going to sand the rest of the surface with 80 grit paper. I'm going to blow off any dust and then wipe off any remaining dust and other contaminants that may be on the surface. The TotalBoat barrier coat is an epoxy product, which epoxies in general have very good adhesion, but as with applying any material, it's very important to have a very good, clean surface for the adhesion mechanism to work. This tape is the finish of the bottom line that I hope to have when I'm done, so I don't want to rough it up or have to redo it or anything like that. So as I'm sanding, I'm trying to give myself a viewpoint where I can very clearly see the gloss versus no gloss, because as I sand, I inevitably miss certain spots or they're not as well prepped. So it's good to be able to see and detect any remaining shiny spots and then go over those as well. Okay, so that's it with the sander. We're going to put this away and grab another disc to just sand the rest at the waterline and around corners and everything else I didn't want to touch with the DA, and do that by hand. Just doing one last check to look for any glossy spots I may have missed along the whole process. Okay, so just finished sanding up the surfaces. Before I do a solvent wipe, I just want to use compressed air to blow most of the dust off to do a better job. If I didn't have compressed air available, just a standard shop vac would work fine. And if you don't even have that, wiping is fine too. It's just going to take a little longer to thoroughly get the surface to be truly dust free. You can see all the dust coming off. Now you can't see it, and even if you were to wipe your hand, you may not feel it, but it is there. And so even if you're not going to use compressed air, use a vacuum, and if you're not going to use a vacuum, you're going to have to wipe several times. Okay, so I've just finished the initial dust clearing step, which we did with compressed air. We could have done that with a vacuum or even just a clean dry rag to get, let's say, 80% of the dust off the surface. I'm going to do the rest with a solvent wipe. In this case, I'm going to use acetone, but there's a variety of other solvents available for the purpose of cleaning and prepping a surface. Since I've got my rags and quarters, as I go along, I can see how dirty the rag surface is, and then flip it over and keep going. So it is important, once the rag starts to show some signs of dust on it, you want to get the new rag surface going and keep wiping. Or else you're just going to move dust around on the surface without actually removing it. So you see a little bit of dust there already with just a little bit of wiping. Okay, so just finished the solvent wipe, and now we're ready to paint. Okay, so we're literally about to start painting. We've got the two-part TotalProtect barrier coat ready to go. There's a base material and a curing agent. Okay, most of the instructions you need are on the back of the can or on the data sheet. But just some basic instructions. It's very important that the material be mixed very thoroughly. While the product has a very long shelf life, it doesn't take very long for all the solids within the resin to fall out of the material and collect at the bottom of the can. Okay, so those solids are critical in creating the actual barrier component of the material. Okay, so we have a mechanical electric mixer here, and I mixed each part for about 15 minutes. Before I mix them, you'd stick your mixing stick in. You can feel you're not hitting the bottom of the can, you're hitting this mushy material. You can pull up and you'll see chunks fall off your mixing stick. That's very clearly not mixed well enough. 15 minutes later, you can see the material falls off the mixing stick in a nice liquidy manner, nice and consistent. Until you've started using the material and are comfortable with it, it's good to mix in smaller quantities to begin, and then mix more and more as you go, as you feel comfortable. It's literally going to do 1, 2, 3 of the base, and then a fourth equal part of the curing agent. That'll happen to be 1 quart on this unit, on this pail. I'm not sure exactly how far that'll take us, but it's a good way to get started. Okay, with epoxies, it's pretty standard to have to mix very well. You should spend I don't know, at least 45 seconds to a minute mixing. You want to look for the color to become consistent. You're also going to want to check the exterior of your mixing cup to make sure that you're not leaving any unmixed material on the sides. It's good to take your mixing stick and literally scrape the sides of the cup and the bottom too. Don't forget about the bottom. Okay, so I've just thoroughly mixed the barrier coat. Now my choice of roller is a foam roller opposed to a wool type roller with a thicker mat. So this is a very thin applicator, so it should leave a finer finish. Since we are going to apply, say, 4 or 5 coats for this project, and we're going to add more and more material, I'm not too interested in adding a lot all at once. Okay, I'd rather have more thinner coats than fewer thick coats. Okay, that'll help the curing process and will result in a nicer finish altogether. The more care you put into the rolling process, the better the finish will be. So, in general, if you just maintain a nice, smooth, sort of slow motion, and never have the roller all that loaded up, just putting on a very nice thin coat. Okay. Then, if you have to do some weird rolling angles due to the curves, you can come back later and try and just blend all those rolling patterns together to have a nice uniform look. It only takes a few minutes of time where once the material is rolled on, it very quickly starts to, well, not just cure but dry. So it's important that as you're rolling, you touch up any spots you're not happy with, rather than have to come back and touch up later, because once the material cures to a certain point, when you go to bring the roller across it, you might actually lift off the material rather than smooth it. Okay, so you can see right here, there's a little difference right there. See how that surface looks rougher? Because that's cured enough that it's become solidified, and now the roller is actually starting to begin to pull the material up. So that's what I want to avoid. So it looks like 1 quart is not quite going to get me through this one side of this 25-foot power boat. So I'm going to have to go mix some more. And at that time, I'll probably replace my tray liner and get a new roller. I can feel the liner's getting a bit solid, the material in it, and I know the roller is going to get to that point soon. So I finished putting the first of, let's say, 3 or 4 coats of barrier coat on. It's probably an 80-degree day at least, very sunny. So the curing time will be on the quicker side for this material, so maybe not even 2 hours. So the best way to tell if the material is ready to overcoat is with the thumb test. So with a glove on, go up to a portion of the material, and if you're really unsure, then go to one of your taped areas so you don't smudge the actual boat itself. Go up with your thumb, press hard, okay, and if it leaves a thumbprint, then you have not gone past the overcoat window. And if it does not leave material on your glove, then then the material has cured enough to overcoat. So because this part of the boat is in the sun, barrier coat is curing quicker than the rest of the boat, which is shaded. So I've already applied my second coat here, whereas I haven't even finished the underside of the first side of the hull. So I'm going to carry on where I left off, move to the transom, and maybe by then I'll be ready for even a third coat here. So the point is I need to keep my eye on the overcoat window with my thumb test. Okay, so I don't want to wait too long. Even in 2 hours and on a hot sunny day might be too long to overcoat. Okay, so just finished applying the final coat of TotalProtect barrier coat. Just gonna give the material a couple hours to dry before I apply my bottom paint. So overall, it was a pretty easy process. Took a little bit of time and effort to prep the surface, sand it, wipe it, make sure it's nice and clean. Then I was ready to apply the first coat. It's a quick 3-to-1 ratio, hand mixed material. Roll it on. Have to wait a couple hours between coats. I'm now ready to put on bottom paint, all without sanding, and I think I'm going to have a bottom surface that's going to hold up for years and years without having to worry about blistering or other laminate failures from moisture intrusion and osmosis that can happen when you leave a boat in the water either year-round or for a season at a time. So I'm pretty happy. Next step will be putting on bottom paint.